call us to order. We would have a pledge of allegiance from Councilman Ledford.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. If you would please rise and ready for proper salute. Repeat after me. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much, Councilman. Can I get a motion to approve the minutes? It's been moved and seconded? Okay. All right, it's been moved and properly seconded. Any questions? All in favor by a sign of aye? Opposers, nay. Motion carries. Tonight, we will have a special presentation, and I'll now turn it over to Councilman Ledford, Councilman Smith, and Councilwoman Burrs.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We are honored, distinguished members of the council, and honored guests. Thank you for allowing a few moments this evening to recognize and honor Abby Crawford Milton, a Chattanoogan who played a significant role in the Tennessee women's suffrage movement and passage of the 19th Amendment.
In August 1920, Tennessee gave women across the nation something they had worked to achieve for 72 years and 3 generations: the right to vote. The Tennessee General Assembly made Tennessee the perfect 36th state when they voted to ratify the 19th Amendment on August 18, 1920. On August 26, the amendment became law of the land, giving suffrage to more than 27 million women.
So just so we shouldn't be biased, I think you need to know that there were men that were part of the committee. The Chattanooga Men's Suffrage Committee included L.P. Barnes, Finney Thomas, William R. Crabtree, Thomas Crutchfield, W.L. Frierson, J.B.F. Lowry, Leonidas D. Miller, George Ford Milton, that was Abby's husband, Newell Sanders, the Reverend Wesley J. Smith, and Judge Joe V. Williams. The Women's Committee, I think is interesting, as I told my colleague up here, because it was Mrs. L.P. Barnes, Frances Fort Brown, Mrs. Lewis Coleman, Eleanor, at the time, Coon Rude. I think you need to look and research, because I bet you were part of it from the very beginning. Mrs. Emile B. Cope, Josephine and Margaret Irvin, Beverly Evans, Ms. Zora Ford, Ms. Sarah Frazier, Dora C. Horeen, Mary Howard, Mary McPherson, Mrs. W.E. Pentecost, Mrs. C.J. Wester, and Catherine Wester. These women traveled all over the state. And if you want to know more about them, we produced The Perfect 36, which is a book that you can get online about the history, which is sometimes sad, sometimes funny. Several years ago, we commissioned, the Yellow Rose Society commissioned a sculpture to be placed in Centennial Park to recognize the women that my colleagues spoke of. They were responsible for the havoc unleashed here, and did a beautiful job of really, quote, suffering through what sometimes was not a kind way for things to happen. Those of us that are members of the Yellow Rose Society have our names engraved on the sculpture. And we are very diverse. We are women who have fought and will continue to fight for women's rights. Obviously, we have the right to vote, and now the next battle is having people use that right. Using the right to vote judiciously to represent their own ways of thinking, and we would fight for that right no matter. The issues we face aren't Republican or Democratic, they're human, and these women knew that. So in honor of Abby Milton and of the Yellow Rose Society, and because all of that happened, we have some gifts for the very important women here in our audience. Ladies. By the way, Girl Scouting made me all the things I am today. The chief and I were Girl Scouts, and it was the government badge, wasn't it? Or was it the law enforcement badge? Yeah, must be it. Okay.
Very nice. We're gonna go ahead. Yep.
And we got our mic. While those are being handed out, we have a Chattanooga City Council proclamation. Describe this day. Whereas Abby Crawford Milton moved from her hometown of Milledgeville, Georgia to Chattanooga after marrying newspaper publisher George Fort Milton, received a law degree from the Chattanooga College of Law, and chose to use her legal training and impressive writing and oratory skills to advocate for equal rights for women. And whereas Abby Crawford Milton rose to leadership roles in Chattanooga and Tennessee, and in 1919 was elected the president of the Tennessee Women's Suffrage Association, and in 1920 as the first president of the League of Women Voters of Tennessee, known while in office for traveling across the state, often with her 3 young daughters accompanying her, to organize suffrage leagues in small communities.
Whereas during the height of the 1920 battle for the ratification of the 19th Amendment to the United States Constitution, Abby Crawford Milton spent the entire month of August in Nashville lobbying members of the Tennessee General Assembly to secure pro-suffrage votes, and as a result of the League and other women's groups' actions, the Tennessee State Legislature ratified the 19th Amendment on August 18, 1920, providing the perfect 36, the final state vote required for national ratification. And whereas the Chattanooga City Council commemorates the historic legacy of Abby Crawford Milton and celebrates her memory with the passage of this proclamation, now therefore we, Darren Ledford, Ken Smith, and Dr. Carol Burrs, council members of the Chattanooga City Council, do hereby recognize and honor the legacy and inspirational work of Abby Crawford Milton. Tennessee's year-long commemoration and celebration of the Women's Suffrage Centennial offers a time to reflect upon an event that has changed American history forever. Join us in paying tribute to Chattanooga's own Abby Crawford Milton and to our state's incredible role in the women's suffrage vote of August 1920, the culmination of 72 years of efforts by 3 generations of women. This concludes our presentation this evening. I want to thank the Girl Scouts. I want to thank my colleagues, Dr. Carol Burrs and Ken Smith, for your participation in this evening's incredible honor. Please check out www.tnwoman100.com. This is a year-long celebration across the state, and let us always remember the right to vote is an extreme privilege and right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Who- She's got one.
Who? Oh,
Oh, we're, yeah. Thank you, Sylvester. That's our Sergeant at Arms. Thank you, sir.
it was my mistake. I didn't.
Voluntary role. No payment.
Even though there's not a direct conflict, just because they appear.
Thank you, ladies.
Good job. Good job. Thank you. That's yours to go. Thank you.
Okay, Madam Clerk, now we can get on to our, Councilwoman Coonrod.
Thank you, Chair. I was just trying to see if we could do the Girl Scout cookies without voting.
Okay,
Wish we were, I'm hungry.
okay. Madam Clerk, we will now read ordinance on final reading 5A.
An ordinance to amend Chattanooga City Code, Part 2, Chapter 38 zoning ordinance, so as to rezone part of property located at 4261 Shallowford Road, more particularly described herein from R1 residential zone to M2 light industrial zone.
Councilman Gilbert.
John, did you find out that's part of this?
Yes, it is. I can read it for you if you like.
Yes.
That this rezoning shall be subject to warehousing and related uses.
Appreciate it. Move to approve.
It's been moved and properly seconded by Vice Chairman Henderson. Any questions? All in favor by the sign of aye.
Aye.
Opposers, nay. Motion carries. 5B, please.
An ordinance amending Chattanooga City Code, Part 2, Chapter 38 zoning ordinance, Articles 2 and 5, Sections 38.2, 38.1, 83.17, 38.305, 38.306, 38.323, 5, 38.333, 7, and 38.341, 10 relating to outdoor storage and mini warehouses.
What's your pleasure, council? Okay, it's been moved and properly seconded by Councilman Byrd. Any questions? All in favor by the sign of aye. Opposers, nay. Motion carries. Now we'll move on to ordinances on first reading. 6A, please.
An ordinance to amend Chattanooga City Code, Part 2, Chapter 38, zoning ordinance, so as to rezone properties in the 5100 block of Highway 58, more particularly described herein, from R1 residential zone and R2 residential zone to R4 special zone.
Councilman Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I see the applicant, and then I'm going to ask this question. Is there any opposition here? Yes, ma'am, you absolutely may. Come on up. Mr. Matthews, do you mind if she goes first? Okay, thank you, sir.
Okay.
My name is Carol Rogers. On the property adjacent to the property in question for rezoning. I had opposition last time because of the property line dispute, and I believe that has been resolved successfully. And the owners of the TG properties that are applying for the rezoning have signed and had notarized a settlement agreement and release along with quitclaim deeds. And it's up to my husband and myself to sign the same. And Mr. Matthews is holding those hostage, waiting for your final vote. I know that he also met with the folks at the church. I don't know if they're here or not, but I believe what they told me, Mount Calvary Baptist Church folks told me that they had a lot of questions and he answered them satisfactorily. I don't see them. Thank you for your time and your patience with us.
Mr. Rogers, thank you very much. Do we have representatives of the church here this evening? No? Okay. Mr. Matthews, thank you very much for taking a lot of time in just the last 2 weeks to make sure that we had the concerns of residents adhered to. Always better to say and do when we're going to be good neighbors and not just say we are, but actually execute. And you did a lot in just 2 weeks, so I very much appreciate that. And with that, sir, I move approval.
Okay, it's been moved and properly seconded by Councilman Ledford. Any questions? All in favor by the sign of aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Madam Clerk, now we'll move on to resolutions. 7A, please.
A resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into a second agreement to exercise option to renew with Chattanooga Goodwill Industries, Inc. in substantially the form attached for a portion of the property located at 1815 East Main Street, tax map number 156BD009, for an additional term of 1 year at the rate of $1 per year for the continued operation of programs through the Chattanooga Furniture Bank.
We have Councilman Byrd, followed by Councilwoman Burrs. It's been moved and properly seconded by Councilwoman Burrs. Any questions? All in favor by the sign of aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. B, please.
A resolution authorizing the Department of Economic and Community Development, Codes Division, to renew agreements with Grass Busters Lawn Maintenance and AB Property Preservation for property abatement services for the first of 2 optional renewal terms from October 1, 2019 through September 30, 2020, for an amount not to exceed $300,000.
Council, what is your pleasure? Move for approval. Second. It's been moved and properly seconded. Any questions? All in favor by the sign of aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. C, please.
A resolution authorizing the transfer of funds and donations to support public art to the city from the Community Foundation relative to resolution number 27449 in the amount of $51,720.
Councilman Gilbert.
Move to approve.
It's been moved and properly seconded by Councilwoman Coonrod. Any questions? All in favor by the sign of aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. D, please, Madam Clerk.
A resolution to confirm the mayor's reappointments of Michael Mallon and Travis Lytle to the Metropolitan Airport Authority Board.
Councilwoman Byrd, followed by Councilman Ledford.
Move approval.
Been moved and properly seconded. Any questions? All in favor by the sign of aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. E, please.
A resolution authorizing the Chattanooga Police Department along with the Hamilton County Sheriff's Department to apply for the fiscal year 2019 Edward Byrne Justice Assistance Grant Program, which runs from October 1, 2019 through September 30, 2022 through the Department of Justice, Office of Justice Programs for an amount of $92,576 for the Chattanooga Police Department, for an amount of $41,592 for the Hamilton County Sheriff's Department, for a total amount of $134,168.
Councilman Ledford.
Move to approve.
It's been moved and properly seconded by Councilman Smith. Any questions? All in favor by the sign of aye. Opposed is nay. Motion carries. F, please.
A resolution authorizing the award of contract number E16006-202 to Trade B Environmental Services, former Upton City Mill Asbestos Abatement Project in the amount of $245,150 with a contingency amount of $24,500 for a total amount of $269,650.
Councilman Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I know that this is something that has been a long time coming, and Councilman Mitchell is happy to have this done, and with that, I move approval.
It's been moved and properly seconded. Any questions? All in favor by the sign of aye. Opposed is nay. Motion carries. G, please, Madam Clerk.
A resolution authorizing the approval of change order number 1 final for JDH Company, Inc. of Chattanooga, Tennessee, relative to contract number Y18002-201, replacement roofing system for Heritage House Building for an increased amount of $8,020.80 to release the remaining contingency amount of $11,979.20 for revised contract amount of $175,237.
Councilman Ledford.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Happy to move for approval.
It's been moved and properly seconded by Councilwoman Coonrod. Any questions? All in favor by the sign of aye. Opposed is nay. Motion carries. H, please.
A resolution to amend resolution number 30019, authorizing the award of contract number Y18004-201 to Tri-State Roofing Contractors, LLC of Chattanooga, Tennessee, replacement roofing system for Brainerd YFD Center in the amount of $63,369 with a contingency amount of $6,500 for an amount not to exceed $69,869.
Councilman Gilbert.
Move to approve.
It's been moved and properly seconded. Any questions? All in favor by the sign of aye. Opposed is nay. Motion carries. I, please.
A resolution authorizing the award of contract number C16005-201 to Integrated Properties LLC of Chattanooga, Tennessee, City Yards Carpenter Shop and Water Quality Storage Building in the amount of $235,428 with a contingency in the amount of $23,500 for a total amount of $258,928.
Councilman Ledford.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is in your district without opposition. I move to approve.
Thank you, sir. It's been moved and properly seconded by Councilman Smith. Any questions? All in favor by the sign of aye.
Aye.
Opposed is nay. Okay, got one nay. Motion carries. Thank you, gentlemen, for the. J, please.
A resolution authorizing the award of blanket contract number D19002-201 to Tower Construction Company of Chattanooga, Tennessee, and Stoneworks Construction LLC of Nashville, Tennessee, for demolition services for ECD for year 1 of a 3-year blanket for an amount not to exceed $500,000.
Councilman Ledford.
Move to approve.
It's been moved and properly seconded by Councilman Smith. Any questions? All in favor by the sign of aye. Opposed is nay. Motion carries. K, please.
Resolution to amend resolution number 29840 entitled "A Resolution Authorizing Administrator for the Department of Public Works" is hereby authorized to accept a cash grant from the Recycling Partnership to provide grant funding and technical assistance in support of the city's expansion of the curbside recycling program in the amount of $913,200, to accept a cash grant from the Recycling Partnership to provide grant funding and technical assistance in support of the city's expansion of the curbside recycling program in the amount of $943,200.
Councilman Ledford.
Move to approve.
Been moved and properly seconded by Councilman Smith. Any questions? All in favor by the sign of aye. Opposed is nay. Motion carries. L, please, Madam Clerk. Youth and Family Development.
A resolution authorizing the administrator for the Department of Youth and Family Development to apply for and, if awarded, accept a one-time award from the United States Council of Mayors American Beverage Foundation for Healthy America for Childhood Obesity Program in the amount of $125,000.
Councilwoman Coonrod.
Move to approve.
It's been moved and properly seconded by Councilman Byrd. Any questions? All in favor by the sign of aye. Opposed is nay. Motion carries. M, please.
A resolution authorizing the administrator for the Department of Youth and Family Development to accept a one-time award from the Tennessee Department of Health for a two-generation approach grant from the Leading the Way Upward Playbook for the Upward Mobility Program in the amount of $456,065.80.
Councilman Coonrod, followed by Councilman Gilbert. It's been moved and properly seconded. Any questions? All in favor by the sign of aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. N, please.
A resolution authorizing the mayor to execute a mutual termination of agreements related to the Young Men's Christian Association of Metropolitan Chattanooga, YMCA, and the Hickson Pike Aquatic Center.
Councilman Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I
Yes.
see we have a few representatives here. I'm wondering if one of them wouldn't mind coming up and just filling us in on exactly the reason for the request and what you intend on doing.
I'm Janet Dunn. I'm the president and CEO for the YMCA of Metropolitan Chattanooga. And this is a agreement that goes back to 2000. And what we are looking to do, it automatically terminates in 30 years. So that would be 2030 when it would automatically terminate. As you can imagine, there have been a lot of different leaders over the last 20 years, not only in the city, but also in the Y. We think that we've probably not embraced this relationship in the way that maybe it should have been in the very beginning. And so it's not utilized to the full extent. And it is very difficult for us in the Y to manage this relationship from a just a perspective of, I don't know if anybody's been to the North River Y, but you walk in the door and you buy a pass and you really have ability to go anywhere within the facility. According to the agreement, you only should have ability to use the swimming pool. And so we think that we can serve the residents of the city of Chattanooga better by making them full members instead of just putting them through on a guest visit, which it currently is the way it is.
All right. Do you have a list or any information on who the more frequent visitors are?
We do.
And willing to reach out to them and make sure that
Yeah, absolutely,
that they
we do.
understand they still have access to the pool?
Yeah, we honestly, I think just because over the years it's not been what it probably could have been, I would be very hard pressed to think that anybody walks in the door thinking that they're coming in as part of an agreement. I think most of the people coming in are looking for a guest pass to use the YMCA or to use the pool facility. But we definitely do keep a list of all of those folks, and so we do have a way of communicating with them and making sure that they know that it's changed a little bit. And we'll work with them. We have a financial assistance program, so we never turn anybody away for inability to pay. If they cannot pay for a membership to the Y, we will certainly scholarship them.
Okay. Thank you, Janet. And I expected that to be the case, but I wanted to
Absolutely.
make sure everybody understood your willingness to work with us
Oh,
on
absolutely.
this, because there are some people that I do know that use the pool
Yep,
that aren't there for a membership. They're literally just there to
yep,
have a little pool time, so I appreciate your willingness to work with them.
absolutely.
And I'm sure I'll hear about it if that's not the case, but I don't expect that to be.
I don't
So,
think you're going to hear about it, but we'll be sure to take care of everybody.
Thank you, Janet, so
Uh-huh.
much. Mr. Chair, there's no further questions. I move approval.
Okay, it's been moved and properly seconded by Councilman Ledford. Any questions? All in favor by the sign of aye. Opposed, nay. Okay, one nay and one abstention. Okay, thank you. Okay, that concludes that part of tonight's agenda. We will now move into purchases.
The first purchase we have tonight is brought to you by the Department of Youth and Family Development. It is for the payment of an invoice for Lexia Core 5 Reading Student Subscription Renewal to be paid to Lexia Learning Systems LLC in a total amount of $28,000. Next, on behalf of the Mayor's Office, we have first two blanket contract renewals for printing services. to be awarded first to Diversified Companies LLC and second to Envelopes and Printed Products, Inc., in a total estimated annual amount of $135,000. Next, a blanket contract renewal for newspaper and online advertising to be awarded to Chattanooga Times Free Press, an estimated annual amount of $150,000. Next, the Information Technology Department is presenting a blanket contract renewal for facility security equipment systems and services to be awarded to Convergent Technologies in an estimated annual amount of $500,000. Finally, the Public Works Department is presenting first a new blanket contract for Ford sedans, SUVs, vans, and light trucks to be awarded to Ford of Dalton in an estimated annual amount of $2.5 million. Next, 2 new blanket contracts for electric motor and pump services to be awarded to first Remco and second Chattanooga Armature Works for an estimated total amount annually of $500,000. Next, 2 blanket contract renewals for bypass pumping equipment to be awarded to first Rain for Rent and second Xylem Dewatering Solutions, Inc., in a total estimated annual amount of $250,000. And finally, the blanket contract renewal for Wrecker Towing and Recovery Services to be awarded to Mostellers Wrecker, Inc., in an estimated annual amount of $85,000.
Councilman Henderson. Councilman Henderson, yeah. Sure. Okay, let's back up here. Go ahead, hit it. Okay,
Okay, thank you.
yes, sir.
Last week, Councilwoman Coonrod had some questions about the Lexia reading program, and we took that item out and deferred it for a week. And I guess, with your permission, I'd like to find out if she got her questions answered about the program.
Yes, sir. Councilman Coonrod?
Thank you, Chair.
Yes, she's in. Not yet. Go ahead, hit it now. We had to,
Have me?
there you go, Councilwoman.
All right. Chip, you know I'm always ahead of the game. I keep a ram in the bush. Coach, can you come explain dyslexia, how it's working, how it's beneficial to the city of Chattanooga?
Yes, members of the council, is there a specific question or concern? There is. I would say Lexia is one of the main tools that we use in our YFD centers. We've got a variety of tools that we use to help children learn to read, and Lexia is just one of those tools that our teachers enjoy using. We have so many children that come to the YFD centers, and when teachers, our academic coaches, are doing one-on-one coaching, it gives them an opportunity to put the kids on the web-based literacy program to keep them learning and enhancing their skills. Lexia also gives us a tool for assessment. When they get on Lexia, it helps us identify exactly where that child is, what level they're on in their reading skills, which also helps our academic coach know how to coach that child or work on the weaknesses that child may have. So I would say, and I know there's been some issues over the years, our teachers have got settled in. Alexa is just one of the tools in our toolkit that we use on a regular basis to help our children improve their reading skills. And we're committed to it, and we want to continue with it and continue to help our children improve their reading skills overall. Is there any specific questions that anyone may have? The Hamilton County Schools still uses in a minor way Reading Eggs and Reading Plus. When the children come to our center and they want to use the Reading Eggs and Reading Plus and they have their code to get in, our academic coaches work with those students and help those students get in their web-based program with the Reading Eggs or Reading Plus. So it's not any competition going on. It's that all of those are tools to help the children learn their reading skills or improve their reading skills.
You good?
Any other questions from the council?
I got this.
Oh, okay. I didn't know if you needed me to fill in.
Wait a minute, Councilwoman. We do have three in the queue. The next one would be Councilman Ledford.
Thank you, Chairman Coonrod, Oglesby. Ms. Woodard, we had, thank you, Coach. It's not about that, I'm
All
sorry.
right, thank you.
Is yours? Coach, you want to come back? I'm going to yield to my time to Mr. Anderson, please.
Okay, let's, okay.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Coach, and you touched on that. My concern was the fact that we use Lexia and county schools use the reading eggs. About how many kids come to our centers and have the code so that they can continue with what they are learning at the school?
As I understand it from talking to Jason earlier, that there are very minimal a number of students that come with their codes and that's using the Reading Plus and Reading Eggs, and the school system has minimized their usage of those programs overall. So, but they haven't completely eliminated it. So we just work collaborative with whatever the children come. And
So are they, and you may not know that, are they using something else now instead of the reading eggs or reading?
No, they may be evaluating another direction to go, but they're still using Reading Eggs, Reading Plus, and
Was there anything we can do to facilitate helping get those codes so that we can continue with
well,
what
they don't share much with us. The children have to provide the code in order for us to get in their programming, okay? Just like we have to share, the children have to share the codes even if they're at school using Lexia. So they don't share that personal information with us. Only the children with their codes can share it with us to get in to work on the program of their choice.
So we're not communicating well on that level, at the higher level.
Well, we're trying, but again, they have minimized their web-based programs, and I guess they're trying to figure out where to go from there. But we're not going to empty our toolbox. I want to say that. We're not going to minimize our toolbox where we can keep children moving forward and giving those academic coaches another way to work with the children while they're working one-on-one with the children. And we can't afford to have one-on-one time with all the children that need it, but those web-based programs help the teachers keep those children learning while they're working one-on-one.
I think I've asked this question before, and I know we can track how well they're doing within the Lexia program, but can we tell how it's affecting their TCAP scores in the school itself?
Well, you know, Councilman, that's not our, they don't share that information, and we don't have a way of determining how our after-school and our learning, we believe that it is, but they don't share. What the schools are doing better, we like to feel that our after-school programming and academic tutoring is part of the process of helping those children that struggle and giving them the extra support. The school executives believe that after-school programming and summer programming, it keeps children from sliding backwards and losing ground. So, but there is no real measurable way other than those children doing better or maintaining their grades at the school level. And the school gets all the credit. No matter what we do, the school still gets all of the credit for the success of those students because they measure them through those academic and standardized tests.
Yep. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. Councilman Ledford and then Councilman Byrd.
Thank you, Chairman. Ms. Woodard, I have a real quick question for you, if you would. Oh, is yours, are all these for Coach? I yield.
Okay.
Sorry, Coach.
We got Councilman Byrd.
All right, thank you, Chair. Thank you, Darren. Councilman Ledford, this is, Coach, thank you for all your guidance and all the work that you do. I have 2.5 centers, me and Councilwoman Coonrod share a center in District 8. And out of those centers, when I visit those centers, you know, I do hear a lot of negativity about Lexus. And I do understand that we have to have different tools in the toolbox, because sometimes it takes vice grips to get something off and you can't use wide pliers. I get it. We talked earlier with purchasing, the accountability and the things that come out of it. I would like to see the process, because I do hear a lot of negativity. And to spend more money on something, to me, that's not doing as great of a job. And I remember a while back when you spoke, we talked about partnering with the school board so that that bridge can connect a lot better. And if we spoke with Dr. Johnson, I would do my part, and with the school board to just see how we can piggyback off what they're doing. So when the kids do get there and open up those codes so that these kids can have them, I think that would be something well worth investing in, so they can get the extra help on the things that they're learning. And just in my district, a lot of people that I talk to, they just tell me, Coach, that, you know, the Lexus program needs to be trashed. So I hear that a lot.
Who are you talking to, Councilman?
It would be the constituents, the people that frequent the centers, the parents or the mothers. They'll say it's good to come and get the studying that goes on, and the teachers help them amazing, and that they wouldn't change the teachers for the world. But a lot of the parents, when I talk to them, they say the kid will go and learn one way, but then reading Eggs and Plus teaches them another way. And so when they get back to school, sometimes it can confuse them because they're not getting a lot of the same. They are getting the one-on-one attention on how to read and how to process things, but it just was told that it wasn't working. And
Let me explain something to you real
yes,
simple.
sir.
Our English language is a sound symbol system.
Yes, sir.
You have to learn the sounds to the symbols, and the symbols are the alphabet.
Yes, sir.
The Lexia program teaches the sounds and the blends to help students learn how to decode words, make words, and make sentences.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that is basic as you can get, okay?
Mm-hmm.
That is no conflict. It's a phonetic-based program, and there's no conflict in any other program that may be doing anything. It's a simple sound symbol system that teaches children how to decode words, make words, and improve upon their vocabulary.
Understood.
We use Scrabble to help children explore. We use books for them to read. We use academic coaching and other games and tools as a part of it. So in my educational experience in using Lexia, whatever anybody say that it needs to be trashed, I disagree professionally.
Yes, sir.
And I stand with it.
Yes, sir.
And I feel like it's a good tool to keep in the toolbox for teachers and students to improve their academic skills. When we first started this program, parents got upset because children had to do a little bit more at the center other than play.
Yes, sir.
And these children were so far behind in their reading skills, we couldn't just allow them to play. We had to incorporate some type of academic support, which our schools support more opportunities for learning outside of school.
Okay.
So I feel strong about it, and I stand behind it. And those individuals who say that it needs to be trashed, I would guarantee you they probably don't even know what the program is about.
I understand.
And
definitely,
I'll be glad to let anyone give you access to it for you to learn and see how it builds skills to improve an individual's ability to decode the English language.
Thank you, Coach. And your wisdom and the work you've put into our rec centers and YFD centers before and after, I mean, it's impeccable. I cannot knock that. But as a councilman, I would be more not in the right, not doing right if I didn't express those things to you. So definitely nothing to discard your feelings, But this is just what my constituents have said to me, and I understand that's why even Councilwoman Coonrod pulled it out to the side, because there's some things she heard. And so I just wanted to let you know that's the process that
Yes,
I was
sir.
going through.
I'd like to help them get on the system.
Yes, sir.
To explore. Those who are disgruntled with it, help them to understand it a little bit better, because it's a very simple, as I explained. You could understand what I just said.
Yes, sir.
It's a very simple system to decode the English language and give even a person that can't read, even grown people can use Lexia to improve their skills and learn the English language in terms of decoding words. And I think it's a good tool to keep in our toolbox.
Okay.
To help our communities improve literacy-wise.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Councilman. I will allude to like I did my councilwoman. I got this. All right, Councilman Burrs. Appreciate your help, though.
So I think you're doing a great job. And I think the Lexia program is great. I remember when we first brought it in, and we brought it in because the school system was still trying to figure it out. And what we decided was that even though we weren't in the education business per se, that's a county thing, that these are our kids and they need to learn, and that we have the biggest asset of all, and that's our community centers where a lot of these kids are. So I want to thank you. I think it's sad when people don't want to learn in a bunch of different ways, because the world speaks and learns in a bunch of different ways. And I think some of the work that you're doing is terrific with the kids. I think your tutoring program, Lexia to kick off, is a great tool. The tutoring program is great. Showing them how to apply the phonetics is fabulous. And I think it might be a good idea for all those folks who are complaining or saying it should be trashed. Maybe we should have a session for them.
Yes.
And see how they can work with it, et cetera. Our youth center, we made the decision, and I know Councilman Gilbert will remember this, we made the decision that if we had this one asset, which was our youth and family development centers, and if our kids were having challenges, that this was the place to teach them, and that we had assets in your staff and volunteers, et cetera, to do that. Part of that decision was, as you already said very well, youth and family development centers aren't places to just go play ball or sports, whereas sports and teams activities do have their value. These kids at all the centers need all the help they can get in after-school tutoring. So I didn't get a chance to say this. Thank you, Ms. Mott. I was trying to say it earlier. I want to thank you, and I want to thank the city for, and all of us, for giving you sufficient funds and hopefully even more funds to deal with the most precious asset we've got in our future, our kids. So thank you very, very much, and perhaps some of the folks that are complaining would benefit from learning what they're complaining about. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Councilman Gilbert.
Come on back, Coach.
Coach. You the man of the hour now, Coach.
Coach, I remember before the city actually purchased the Alexis program, it was in other areas that kids needed help. It did teach the basics of sound, so kids can look at a word and break it down and understand that word. I don't care what other program the school system might have, that has nothing to do with breaking down sound and teaching that kid how to read. Reading is reading, regardless of what they do, it's reading. So it did work a lot. I think Howard, it was in Howard for a minute, for a while. I do remember Bethlehem Center, because that's one of the classes I went to when it was at Bethlehem Center, and it does work. I've seen many kids go to that program and did very well. So I think you're right. I think the people that saying it's not need to actually go to the class themselves and see what it's all about, and see and learn themselves, and I believe they will agree that it's a good program.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilwoman Kumrai.
Thank you, Chair. I'm gonna need the council to back up off Coach. But I gotta take you up on your offer, Coach, making sure that everybody have the opportunity to learn how to read if they need help. Because outside of just this Lexia program being inside our youth and family development centers, for those that don't know, we also have the Office of Family Empowerment. And we're in the business of empowering families to the next level. So that means if you need to, learn how to read, get those skills. If it's you need employment opportunities, housing, anything that's going to empower you out of poverty. And learning how to read is one of those things that will most definitely get you out of poverty, to get jobs and so on and so forth. So thank you so much, Coach, for that. So anybody in District 9 and any other district, if you need help reading, you can be anonymous, because sometimes people are afraid to admit, hey, I need help in this area.
Yes.
You could be anonymous, you could reach out to me, you could reach out to Coach, whoever, any of these city council people, so we can direct you to the proper place to get the codes and everything necessary to be a part of this Lexia program. I too had heard, from various people about it, and I want to get them signed up too, right? Because we all can use a refresher course. We can go through it and see exactly what's going on. So I just asked the council, the next time someone come and say that there's an issue with this program, ask them would they like to explore the program. Let's see what their kids are learning, and that'll get them invested in their kids' educational opportunities. So that's a check off of that. But Chair, if there's no further questions, I'd like to call the vote.
Okay, we have, is this something related to purchasing? You wanted to speak? Okay.
Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you.
Thank you, Coach. Ms. Woodard, last week we had a large blanket contract that came through, and we talked a little bit about this at 3 o'clock. Would you please explain to us again, when we see large dollar amounts labeled under a blanket contract renewal, what that actually means? Because I've had several constituents reach out to me and say, we have, last week, I think it was $2 million to spend on cars, but not enough for paving. And then we see $2.5 million. Will you explain to what the blanket contracts technically mean?
Of course. A blanket contract is an estimated contract that does not have to be minimally used and does not, we set the maximum when we come to have you approve the ones that are over 25,000. But that does not guarantee that the department's going to spend that much, but that is the most that they can spend in a year. And just like any other bid at that level, the blanket contracts are based on quantities that a department has actively determined that the city needs for a year. So they represent what the departments have actually assessed as being needed for a year.
Thank you. So we're technically not writing a check tonight for $2.5 million.
No, that just gives a one-year ability for the city to use the contract as is needed. But we are not writing a check tomorrow for that amount.
Thank you. I hope some of the comments or suggestions I made earlier will make its way to our purchases. I think it will be helpful for people to understand. Thank you so much. Chairman?
Okay. Councilwoman Kumrai.
Thank you, Chair. I just want to bring it back around to Coach, so it won't be, no further issues. Could you just provide us with the data from each rec center that's just showing the use or, the effectiveness of the program?
Yes, we can provide the data, the usage data for each one of the centers that use the program, and all of them are involved in using it to some capacity. And when we assess them, they go on Lexia and they test out. Lexia is good up to 5th grade reading. If they test out at being a comprehensive reader above 5th grade, Lexia is no longer beneficial to them. So we give them opportunities to read books and do other things and be coached or counseled academically in other areas of need. So if they test out, if we got an 11th grade person that's reading at the 4th grade level, then we know we need to give some attention to that person. And so we use it for assessment as well, and not just let them get caught up. And they may complain about getting that academic coaching because they want to go play basketball. They want to go do something else. But they so low in reading, we got to give them something else to work on to enhance their skills. So we'll be glad to provide additional usage and the progress that those students make in the centers.
Thank you, Coach. I appreciate that. And Chip, I heard you over there whispering to the chair about what I said. I said it wrong. So if there's no other concerns about this issue, I'd like to call the question. Is that correct?
Well, if there's no further question, can I have a motion?
Second.
Okay. There's been a motion and properly second. All in favor by the sign of aye. Opposed is nay. Motion carries. Thank you, Bonnie. Now, is there any other business this council want to be brought before us this afternoon? We have Councilman Coonrod. Is that a new one, or I didn't cut you off yet? You good? Okay. Is there any other business? Seeing none, let's go to committee reports. Well, okay, quick. All right, Councilman Gilbert.
Yeah, this coming Saturday, the first annual Chattanooga Labor Parade and Picnic is going to be Saturday, August the 31st. It starts at 9:30 to 1. They're going to meet at 719 Cherry Street and end up at Coolidge Park. So come support labor for its trying opportunities, get opportunities to people that don't have opportunities. They are doing a great job, and please come this Saturday.
What time is that, Councilman?
It starts at 9:30.
9:30?
Yes.
Okay, great. Okay. Seeing no other lights, let's go to committee reports. Councilwoman Byrd. No report. Councilman Byrd. No report. Councilwoman Coonrod.
So we talked about Lexia, and Coach addressed all concerns, and he's gonna follow up and send us the updated information from each recreation center site. And if there's any further issues, we'll get the coach back.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Councilman Gilbert.
No report.
Vice Chairman Henderson.
No report.
Councilman Ledford.
Thank you, Chairman. September 3rd, after our agenda session, Planning and Zoning Committee will commence.
Councilman Smith.
No report, Mr. Chairman.
In the absence of Councilman Mitchell, there will be a Public Works and Transportation Committee meeting next week. Thank you, team. Now, at this time, we have recognitions of persons wishing to address the council on non-agenda items. Mr. Attorney, would you please read the rules?
At the end of each council business meeting, the chairperson will recognize members of the public who wish to address the council. The following procedural rules will apply. Each speaker wishing to address the council shall be recognized only at the microphone provided for that purpose. No person shall have more than 3 minutes to speak. The speaker may address the council only upon matters within the legislative and quasi-judicial authority of the council. The speaker shall not be permitted to use any vulgar or obscene language, nor use the floor to personally attack or personally denigrate others. The chairperson shall not recognize any person, neighborhood association, or organization to speak to the council during the non-agenda matters portion of the agenda more than twice in any 30-day period. Persons wishing to address the council may do so only once during a council day, either at the agenda session, at a committee meeting, or at the council business meeting.
Thank you. You may proceed.
Hello, my name is Christopher Dahl, and I reside at 2020 East 12th Street. I'm here to state that I am for keeping tax dollars local, to address tax dollars being allocated towards projects that never happened until a few years after it's a few years after its money is allocated towards it, then new money is then allocated towards these said projects. And last, to hinder criticism of government or public officials is against people's First Amendment rights. To address the first issue, I keep noticing projects being outsourced instead of staying local. Even through city funds, nonprofits to promote local projects, the majority do not see any benefit from this. Tax dollars instead are being reinvested in, is not being reinvested into our economy by these project payouts because the company that takes back the money to their home base or their city that they're from. Second, there have been several projects the city claims to take on, then the city allocates funding for these projects. The projects never furnish unless it seems to benefit a developer, and then new funds are allocated for these projects that were to have already been completed. Lastly, criticism of government political dissatisfaction and advocacy of unpopular ideas that people find distasteful or against public policy are almost always safeguarded in the recent past. We see censors try to claim civility and use their power of the state to impose their view of what is truthful and appropriate or offensive and objectionable, and anyone else. Censors want to control the narrative with lip service. For those that need clarification, censorship is the suppression of ideas and information that certain persons, individuals, groups, or government officials find objectionable or dangerous. It is no more complicated than someone saying, "Don't let anybody read this book or buy that magazine or view that film because I object to it." So if a citizen truly wishes to make a public criticism, the chair should recognize a citizen's right to do so, keep an ear turned for the difference between an attack and criticism, and keep a cool head to avoid turning criticism into a personal attack. Because at the end of the day, elected officials who feel the need to be protected from public criticism might want to consider another way to serve the public. Thanks, and have a great, blessed rest of the day.
Thank you, Mr. Dahl.
Good evening, Council.
Good evening.
Courage is the most important.
Please state your name.
Marie Mott. Courage is the most important of all the virtues, because without courage, you cannot practice any of the other virtues consistently. You can practice the virtue erratically, but not consistently without courage. Maya Angelou. I thought that it was very interesting that we would talk about suffragette, in particular being an African-American woman. The former suffragists of the North, while the South along were celebrating the amendment and were uninterested in fighting discrimination against women who were suffering racial as well as gender discrimination. I believe it was historian Rosalind Turberg Penn who said, "Within a few years, white supremacy was victorious through the South. Unlike black men who had been disenfranchised within 20 years of the ratification of the 15th Amendment, black women had lost the right to vote in less than a decade. It would take another half a century and a new suffragette campaign with black women not in the back, but in the front. And before the community was fully enfranchised through the Voting Rights Act of 1965. I do believe that was after both of my grandmothers were born. Both of my grandfathers were born. And I do believe, like this picture right here, that says that I am a man, that is exactly what we fought for. And I think it's very pernicious or harmful when we look at history from only a certain perspective. And I believe that we do ourselves a disservice in moving forward if we gleam about victories when we know throughout history various others are left out of the process. And I would say that when we don't acknowledge history in its totality, I could see how this council can continuously make the decisions that it continues to make that would exclude African Americans from upward mobility in the city. My name is Marie Mott, and I'm always here to tell the truth and to practice my virtues of courage consistently. And that is not saying what people believe is popular or even what people like, but having a perspective that always acknowledges the truth of historical outcomes and the truth of how the future of the city of Chattanooga should carry on forward. I look forward to continuing to practice my virtues. See you next week.
Thank you, Ms. Mott.
Hello, Council. Unfortunately, sometimes the truth do hurt, and sometimes we don't look at the past and realize where we're going with the future, but some of the stuff she said, most of it is true, but the only thing we can do now is move forward and make this world better. That's all we can do. But I wanted to thank
Please state your name, Mr.
Oh, I'm
We
sorry.
know who you are. Yeah.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. Sylvester Harris,
Thank you very much,
3300
sir.
Curtis Street. And I want to thank Mr. Byrd for appointing me for the council, and I'm proud to see the council is moving forward with all the people being elected on this council. But the problem I'm having is with the sheriff department. Since the sheriff department governs Chattanooga, and sometimes we have joint ventures with the sheriff department, I want to know how we're going to govern that part when we do be together on partnership and we have an infraction, and then we have to go to the board with an issue, but the Hamilton County Department is governed different, even though they govern Chattanooga. So I wanted to, and what I was wanted to say is we do need oversight. And reason why, even in high school, well, say let's go back to junior high. C.B. Robertson, he was an outstanding principal. It's times I got sent to the principal's office. Maybe I was acting up a little bit, and he told me, he said, okay, what did you do? And I had to explain to him what happened. Then he had to make a decision what would happen with me. Sometimes it was with the paddle. Sometimes it was with talking to. Unfortunately, I was never suspended ever in my life, but sometimes people was suspended. Then sometimes people do infractions in school that governs them to be terminated from school. So sometimes we have to have oversight. That's just part of life. Unfortunately, it's a shame that we have to be grown people and put people over councils that's saying, okay, you done something wrong, and we're all grown and we know what's right and we're doing wrong. So we have to have that. And I want to tell the coach, keep doing what you're doing. I'm saying sometimes I hate to see a kid can play basketball good, but he can't even read his contract. And when he get there and then he can't even read his contract, he's not going to get treated fairly. So we have to do certain things to make these kids do what they got to do. And a lot of times when we talk about oversight with the police, if we get kids reading and understanding things better, they have a lot outstanding. They feel better about themselves. I think they'll do better in society. A lot of these kids wouldn't be out here raising hell and doing some of the things they're doing. They'll feel a whole lot better if they can read, if they can write, they can spell, they can do math. Then they have an opportunity to go farther in their lives. But when you doomed and can't do a lot of stuff, you're going to do a lot of negativity. So we have to do better and find better tools and all kind of tools. I don't care what tool it takes. Just get these kids reading and writing. And I'm sorry that I don't have more time, but thank you for listening.
Thank you, Mr. Harris.
Good evening. My name is Esther Suggs Forbes. I'm a resident and spokesperson for Drake Forest Community. The last Tuesday, August the 20th, my neighbor and the lead spokesperson for Drake Forest Community, Marlena Russell, spoke to the council requesting that our neighborhood be considered for repaving of our streets, after we received an email denying that request. On Sunday, August the 25th, Drake Forest Community received another email and documentation from Blythe Bailey, the administrator from CDOT. And in that email, Mr. Bailey mentioned that the pavement management prioritization methodology is the roadmap for various contracts and how they prioritize and use the roadmap to know which streets need paved next. I guess we need to know how to get on that priority list. I did bring pictures of the streets from Drake Forest. I would like for you to take a look at them if you could. And then I'm going to read an excerpt of the email that Ms. Russell received on behalf of the Drake Forest community. Here's how the email reads. Our streets experience all kinds of distress and repair needs, many of which can be addressed by the city crews. Sometimes it appears to have been this case, with the service request response that you shared with me in the email, that our crews determined that the request that has been made is not appropriate for our crews to address, either because it does not reflect an immediate safety, property damage hazard, or because it is a bigger repair need than the crews have the capability of addressing. In those cases, those requests get passed along to CDOT, and we file them for our reference each year, and we select the paving list. It appears to be the case with this correspondence that you shared with me in the below email. In addition, I also have invoices from where I had to have my personal car realigned twice in 1 year from the condition of the streets. In summary, the streets in Drake Forest have not been repaved for 40 years. In the discussions that we had last Tuesday, the administrator of CDOT and the District 4 councilman, Drake Forest might not see repaving for another 20 to 30 years because of the city's methodology of prioritization method. Drake Forest community does not feel that the city's method is working, nor does it reflect a fair and impartial use of contracts specifically designed to ensure the maximum long-term maintenance of city streets. Therefore, we have begun reaching out to all of the neighbors in Drake Forest and have successfully created a petition which will be presented to the mayor's office. We have shared the documentation that was submitted to Ms. Russell for the benefit of Drake Forest community to a Drake Forest resident who is also an attorney. He will review that information and address that in the very near future. In closing, we would like to ask for the subdivision to be completely repaved, as you can see from the picture. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Good afternoon, Council. My name is Napoleon Williams. Came here in 1964 as a black policeman. Booker Turner had 6 of us at one time. 2 of us made history. I was the first black detective in the history of this city. Ralph Cochran was the first black chief. Today, stand up Walter Maples, 91 years old, the only last couldn't rest white people coming to work at 12. The white officer came at 10. And the reason I'm here today, I attended a homegoing of 2 of my brothers, Second Baptist Church, Spooker Jackson. There was no honor guards there. 27 years, dedicated service. And one day, they're gonna bury me, and I want my flowers. Arthur Lewis was at National Cemetery, 27 years of service. And guess what? I was the only thing there from Chattanooga, representing Chattanooga, but nobody there from the city. In my days, in my 27 years in the police department, there was people in the department was dedicated to take care of stuff like that. Make sure we had our honor guards there, make sure somebody would go to the family and say, what do you need? We're there for you. And I'm gonna take my seat. I got 40-some seconds left. There's 9 churches on 3rd Street. Councilmen, y'all need to go back to the table and tell the mayor there need to be a supermarket on 3rd Street. All those churches there. And I'm gonna spend the rest of my days, like I did for John P. Franklin, to get him elected as the Board of Education. When Mark Lord got on the radio that night, on TV, and says one precinct have not come in. It was 19-1, and he was the first. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Mr. Williams.
Ron Ray, Lookout Valley, 613 Pan Gap Road. Tonight I want to speak about something I read in the paper, and it had to do with the Patton Parkway. As we prepare for the redo of the Patton Parkway, World War II veterans and family members have concerns that have yet to be answered. Personally, I believe that the renewal is good for our city until the history is subtly erased, which I believe may be happening in this case. This redo has been sold as a renovation project designed to reflect our city's past and to promote our city's innovative future. I would submit that nothing more accurately reflects our city's past than the sacrifice of the approximately 700 names that are listed on these monuments alongside our proud United States Marines in the American Legion Post that were recognized in these monuments at Patton Parkway as well. Veterans are voicing their concerns as we speak and deserve to be heard. The end of 2020 is the target date for placing the monuments at their new location. To this date, we understand that a Veterans Committee has been tasked with the responsibility of placing the monuments in their new, yet-to-be-determined site, yet we don't know who the veterans of this committee are. After looking at the art or something that more resembled metal trees, to me, I confess, art is not something that wows me, yet I see the value in someone's talents in this project, this redo here. Nonetheless, I would strongly encourage this council to seek a stay-in-place request for these monuments to show that Chattanooga will always honor our veterans and their sacrifice all across our great city and not designate one small acre as a token recognition of our nation's fighting force. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councilwoman Coonrod?
I'm concerned about the roads, what a young lady presented in that subdivision. But like, if you could come to the podium for a second. I mean, I don't know if you or someone else went to look at the condition of those roads or saw those pictures.
It's very scary. I can't
I'm
even
not-
run.
And from the look of the pictures, it looked like, they're tax-paying citizens. Like, they pay property taxes, and their roads need to be paid. It's ridiculous for them to have their road, or anybody, for their roads to look and exist exactly how it is. Like, we should be ashamed as a city. And then, for her car to have, and I'm sure it's other people whose cars have been, messed up from driving over these potholes, but her road is in poor condition. And I understand that you have like this metric that you all use, but how can we get her on the list? Because, I got some rough-looking roads, but her road, like, no one would want to live on this, where she lived, because of that road. And can we move the process up, or what's next in it? I know Stacy left, but Mara, maybe you can address it. Have you seen those pictures? That's ridiculous. We should be sued right now from the conditions of those streets.
I truly can't even run in the subdivision. I'm afraid I'm gonna twist my ankle. They're that bad.
Yeah.
Yeah. I spoke with Ms. Russell last week, who's here in the audience, and directed our staff to go out there. We're aware of the condition of the roads in that neighborhood, and I completely agree with you. We're working as hard as we can, as y'all know, to do every single one of you have streets in bad condition. So I hear these folks loud and clear. Heard her last week. I did promise that I would go out there. I haven't had a chance to get there myself yet, but I will take a look at it myself.
Thank you, I appreciate it. Just want to make sure it's on the radar, because I know a lot of times our constituents will come address the mic, and then you guys will say, you know what, we're looking into it, we're addressing it. But we need to make sure something is going to be done about it, because I've had enough with, we're going to take a look at it. According to these pictures, it needs to be paved.
Councilman Ledford.
Thank you, Chairman. Last week, we did have a very healthy conversation and some very honest dialogue about this. This is a neighborhood in District 4, but it's really a reflection on neighborhoods all over this city. And if you will recall, we had an internal audit report that showed us just how bad our roads are. And I'm so happy to see that on this particular issue that residents are coming out and voicing their opinions at this microphone. Because Lord knows the council is asking for more paving dollars. One of the things that I asked for when we saw that internal report was, if you know what we need to get started to seriously take a look at this, then why in the heck don't you ask? And I don't think that we're asking. We're asking, this council's asking for the dollars. So I'm asking the people who know how much money we need to get this done, ask. Put it in your budget proposal. Let's get this done. We are way behind. And I am so happy to see you folks come here. And you know what? You can come anytime you want to. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Byrd.
Thank you, Chair. Sir, thank you so much for coming up and expressing your concerns about Patton Parkway. I definitely want to talk to you afterwards and get some more information so that you can be in the loop of what's going on and how the process is going to work. You definitely need to know that, because I know this is something that's dear to your heart. And if you wait till after council, me and you will talk, and I figure out how we can make sure that you're on the email list, that you're being reached out to make sure you got the information you need to pass on to your friends as well. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Byrd. Vice Chairman Henderson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to address the paving issue and just remind my council members that 5 votes during budget time gets you more money for paving.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. Councilwoman Coonrod. Oh.
I said 5 votes during budget time gets you more money for paving.
Okay, Councilman Coonrod, you have the floor. There you go.
Thank you, Coach. Mr. Napoleon, I sincerely offer my condolences. I was unaware that Spooky Jackson had passed. I didn't, receive any information about it. He was a great guy, the times that I had encountered him.
Who is this now?
Spooky Jackson.
Spooky Jackson, yes.
Right, said he was a great guy.
Right, he was a great detective.
Right. I was
Matter of fact, I recommended him for a detective through Chief Cochran. I told him that he needs to stop writing tickets, because this guy is putting more people in jail in uniform. And he made detective. I recommended him to be a detective. I watched him grow.
He was an
Because he wasn't good as I was, because I didn't get him till I got through. I was one of the best, not bragging, but I didn't go home till I got you.
You sure didn't, but I most definitely offer my condolences. I had no idea, can't speak on behalf of the other council representatives, and I'm not familiar with how the process of how the honor guard will, how they come out, but we gonna make sure that whoever else passed, that they can be there. 27 years of service with the police department, and I'm sure during that time, it wasn't many black people on the police force.
That's true. Just got one left. But anyway, I talked to Senator Gardenhouse yesterday. He said it's a bill that they looked at last year, and he's gonna try to get it to go through, make it mandatory. And he said if he need me to come before the committee, I'd be glad to. And I got connection across the state with people in law enforcement who could probably come up there and let's make this thing work, because we give you service, we just want our day.
That's right.
We want our day. Thank you.
Thank you. Anything else, Councilwoman? Okay. Anybody else like to speak? What's your pleasure? We are adjourned.